Hey everyone, welcome back to But Why the Podcast, and today we have a special episode with Alvaro Rodriguez, the co-creator and executive producer on Seis Manos, the new Netflix Mex anime, coming out later this week on October 3rd. So give it a listen and let us know what you think. Question is what inspired the project? What inspired Seis Manos?
Well, the project really is born with Brad Graber, the other co-creator of the project with me, and he is the CEO of Powerhouse Animation, Powerhouse Studios, that also does Castlevania for Netflix, and just announced the Masters of the Universe Kevin Smith reboot animated series for Netflix. And Brad had the concept of Seis Manos a few years ago, I guess, and it was more conceptual and not really a story yet, not really fleshed out. It was kind of an idea, and this is probably about 3-4 years ago now. Maybe even a little bit longer than that. Carl Fiel, who's a musician and composer, that actually did the music for Seis Manos. Carl had done some work with Brad, and I had worked with Carl on From Dusk Till Dawn, the TV series, and Carl connected Brad and I, and like I said, there was a concept for Seis Manos, but there wasn't really a story. I came on with Brad and started to kind of talk about what this thing could be, and the kinds of things that interested me and the kinds of things that interested him. And then I came on board. I wrote, we wrote together kind of a bigger story document for what the show was. And then I wrote a pilot, and we kind of shopped it around and pitched it around to different places. And we either got usually one of two reactions, one which was, wow, this is amazing. We love this. Can we do this for very little money? Or, we don't know what this is. If this were comedy more, then we might find a place for it. But, we really don't know what this is. It's not really anime, and we just don't know what to do with this. And so we kind of lay fallow for a while and just wasn't going anywhere for a little while. And then we kind of came back to it, and my co-writer on the project, Daniel Dominguez, came on board and started to kind of try to inject some new life into the project. And then together we met with Viz Media in 2017, and they came on board as kind of producers on the project, a studio on the project, and then together we went to Netflix, and it was a very kind of quick yes from Netflix. And, I think it's really in keeping with this new kind of global marketplace of telling stories that are specific, and because they're specific, they end up having a more universal quality. And more people get interested in them because they feel like there's an authenticity there. That might be a longer answer than what you wanted.
No, I love that answer. I mean, honestly, for me, it's kind of something I've been thinking about since I saw the announcement photos for Seis Manos, because I was like, how did this get greenlit? How long has this been going at it? Because, like, for me, like, I proudly identify as a weeb. I love animation, I love anime,
Yeah,
and a lot of the times Latinos, and I mean I'm Mexican American myself, like we're kind of left out from that space a lot,
yeah,
outside of like the amazing Spanish dubs of like Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that that
right,
a lot of people grew
right,
up with.
yeah.
So for me, like I really appreciate that long answer because it's something that I've been thinking about. Like I have wondered how long the road was for you guys to get here.
It was
Um,
definitely a long road, but there was, almost from the beginning of that process of when Brad and I got together and started to build out the concept into a world, into a storyline, into characters, you know, um, I kind of hit on the idea that, well, this is a Mexicanime,
yeah.
and um, or at least a Tex-Mex anime or Texican anime or something, that definitely is Latino forward, and that was always sort of the DNA of the thing. That we were thinking about all the influences of things that we both responded to,
Mm-hmm.
and really liked, from everything from, sort of the '70s vibe of grindhouse and blaxploitation cinema to, even the movies of Robert Rodriguez like Desperado and things like that, to anime, to everything from, Dragon Ball Z to Naruto to Akira to, all of these different things, Cowboy Bebop, ways in which all of these things could be, could work together. And that's really, what was Seis Manos, and what Seis Manos kind of started as, and I think what it's become.
And one of the things that that really got me interested, I mean, beyond, I mean, I was interested from the get go, just from the premise, but looking at
Right.
that strong influence of black exploitation, and then also like mexploitation happens in Mexican cinema, like a different time
Sure.
period, but it's there. And I was wondering, because I know of your work on the Front Desk Dawn TV show, which I binged while I had the flu with the fever, which was both the best and weirdest thing.
Yeah.
It's still one of my favorite shows. But I was wondering, like, when you're crafting the story and like harkening back to a period of cinema that, some people don't necessarily. I mean, there are a lot of genre fans who love it. Like I'm covering
Yeah.
Fantastic Fest currently, and there are a lot of us who love it. But some people don't necessarily look at it in a very kind of like meaty light, right? Like a lot of people kind of see it as a throwaway versus something with actual content. How did you go about kind of dealing with that era around the genre of, kind of like of exploitation films? It's the same stuff, Robert Rodriguez has dealt with, as he's made
Right.
grindhouse films and stuff.
Yeah, to me, I'm there's sure there's a lot of exploitation films, whether they're exploitation, black exploitation, kung fu movies that are just not very good. But there's a lot of stuff that is really great, and I think what often happens in those situations where you find something that's really great is that they present an opportunity for the creators, the writers, the directors, the stars, and everything to be smugglers in some way. There's
Mm-hmm.
more to that's than what it appears to be on the surface, um, and so movies like Truck Turner or Bone, with the Yaphet Kotto, or Shaft, and then, you know even Machete to a certain degree. With Machete, which I co-wrote with Robert, was also, to me, a big opportunity for, like, using the craziness of that kind of storytelling to do other things with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in telling that, the sort of the black exploitation angle of Seis Manos deals a lot with the character of Wallace Brister, who's a American DEA agent sent south of the border on, probably a useless mission. But with his storyline, we get to see a little bit about how he felt when he came back from Vietnam, and how he was treated, by, people back in the States, and now that he's in Mexico, how his role has sort of changed and how it will continue to change over the course of the story. And so there's a certain blaxploitation angle in the fact that, it's an African American character with a gun who's, going to be kind of a badass on both sides of the border kind of thing. But at the same time, it's telling a little bit of a deeper story about identity, about racism, about, class, and where this guy fits into this, where he sees himself as being both an instrument and a pawn at the same time, or has seen himself as an instrument and a pawn at the same time. And so, it's like, to me, it's like that's part of the fun of doing something like Seis Manos that draws from all these different influences, that you can get away with a lot more stuff. So hopefully there's something more than meets the eye in in the stories that we're telling, and in the juxtaposition of kung fu with blaxploitation, with Mexican mysticism, and all of that stuff.
And when it comes to I just want to say I'm really excited to kind of hear you talk about Brister's involvement and stuff. Mainly because I was like, oh, he's like one of the only like non-Mexican characters. Like, why did they include him? And so hearing you kind of like break that down and explain it, it definitely kind of has me ready and excited to see how he kind of undertakes this. And then tell me a little bit more about like some of the other characters, like Jesus and Isabel, and some of the other characters you have in the series.
So, the other thing I think that the Seis Manos allows us to do is to explore themes of like family, and themes of belonging or not belonging. And, in this story, the three major characters that make up the Seis Manos, the six hands of the story, are Isabela, Jesus, and a character called Silencio. And they are all, they have become a sort of family under the fatherhood, I guess, of an old Chinese teacher named Chu, who is a Chinese exile and has been hiding out in Mexico for many, many years. And after their parents were killed by the drug cartels or drug violence in Mexico in the 1970s, he raises them from the time that they're children to the time of our story, and teaches them different forms of kung fu. And so, Isabela is very much the sort of moral center of this surrogate family, or this makeshift family. She's very much the one who is trying to weigh questions of, justice versus revenge, of sort of following the rules and doing the right thing. Jesus is much more the feeling member of the family. He can be very emotional at times, but he's also kind of the heart and soul of the family. And then Silencio is really like the silent one who is having trouble because of his sort of condition that keeps him silent, dealing with the most frustration at not being able to really express how he feels about certain things, and that just makes everything more elevated, more amplified, from his anger to his passion, So these three characters are kind of thrown into a situation where they will cross paths with Agent Brister and with Officer Garcia, who is a female cop in the town that they live in, and how these two sort of storylines collide going forward is kind of the bulk of the show.
I just keep getting more excited, like the more you talk. In all honesty,
I mean, the thing about it, I hope that it works. That's the thing about this whole process. The stories that we told, we weren't trying to we weren't trying to fit any particular mold or trying to appeal to a particular demographic or anything really like that. It really became more of the kinds of things that excited us, the kinds of things that interested us, and the story that just seemed to like want to come out of this experiment. And I think that one of the things that's so great about it is when you get to work with incredible artists who bring the whole thing to life. Carl with the music is it's the level of professionalism and just the heights that he has, he strives for, and I think he even surpasses with the music and the attention to detail and all of these things. Is just like, wow, it's going to be, I think it's a visual and sonic, just kind of really great experience. So if the story is anywhere near as good as the visuals and the music and all of that, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, just watching that the new trailer that just dropped, I was blown away.
Yeah.
Which is when I reached out to you. Honestly, at the moment I saw it, it was like, oh gosh, I need to reach out to Alvaro. Like, this looks better than anything I could have imagined.
Wow.
And
Thank you.
yeah, it seriously, like it hits all those spots for me because I'm kind of, it's really weird. Like a lot of the things that Seis Manos is, like, one, I am Mexican. Two, I love anime. Three, I love kung fu movies. Four, I love exploitation cinema. Like it hits all those right notes. And hearing you kind of like talk about the story and the characters and the thought process that has gone into it, it has me really excited. And I'm sure that it's going to have our listeners excited as well.
Yeah.
And
well, you have to let me know what you think after it comes out and see if it lived up to its expectations.
I will, for sure. The moment the poster came out, I was like, I told my writers, I was like, I'm reviewing this. Y'all can write anything else you want, but I will be reviewing this the day it comes out. This is mine.
Awesome. Yeah.
I was really
been
excited.
Great. No, we're excited too. This is the first animated project that I've been involved with, and it feels like it's been such a great experience working with Viz and Netflix and Powerhouse, and just it's such a collaborative effort. There's a part of it that always feels like the transformation from words on a page to the final product, and but there's something about this, in particular, this project, where it just feels, I'm very, very excited to see, how people respond to it, and what the reaction is. It's something we've lived with for a long time. We wrote the first season last year from January to July, did all our voice recording, and then spent a year or more than a year in animation, between the animators in Austin, Texas at Powerhouse, and the animators at the studio in Korea, and the back and forth of all of that. And then this year we've from January to July again, we wrote a second season. We're waiting to see if we'll get the green light to start production. So hopefully the numbers will be good enough to do that. But it's such a long process from start to finish and to actually getting out there, that it's it's been a long time of just like wanting to see what the response will be, and I hope that it's positive. But I feel very proud of what we've done, what the animators have done, and everybody that's contributed to this project. From the voice cast has been amazing. I can't imagine the show voiced by anybody else, and it's a vast majority Latinx voices. Mike Colter is Agent Brister, and Roger Craig Smith is his boss in the DEA, Larry, who you'll meet on the show. But I think the vast majority of everybody else is Latinx. It's Latino. Angélica Vale, Aislinn Derbez, Jonny Cruz, a big Chow also, not Latino, but the bulk of everybody else is. So it's definitely largely a people of color, minorities that are the voices of the show and the characters of the show. So it's really interesting to see how that will play with the Latino audience and with just the general audience.
And kind of like having you, like, hearing you talk about like animation and then just how long this process is, what
Yeah.
are, I guess, some of the hurdles or differences that you've seen kind of transitioning into working in animation from live action, that you may not have expected or, or excited by?
Uh, um, you know, I don't know. I think the biggest thing is just the difference between, working on a TV series or working on a film. You know, that there's so much that is spending time with the actors and over the course of the shooting of the show for many episodes, or even in the short time of actually shooting a film, you can see how the actor grows into a part or finds new things about their character. When you're doing voice records for an animated series, it's all kind of run together very quickly. You don't have a ton of time to do that, and so you might have an actor for an afternoon or a couple of days or something like that, as at the most, as they're going through the lines of the script, and they're not usually acting with another voice actor. They're all being recorded individually, and so it's just like almost a really different kind of process. And you see through that, the miracle of our sound editors, our dialogue editors, and people that are putting all these voices together in continuity. We did have Aislinn Derbez and Jonny Cruz, who play Isabela and Jesus. They recorded together, which was great because they're, like I said, sort of brother and sister on the show, and so having their interplay of actually being in the booth together, in the sound room together, audio booth recording, was terrific, because you got certain things that you didn't necessarily get if they were recorded separately on different days or whatever. So that's one element that's kind of interesting to see, an experience that's different from the features. And but just like the other kinds of projects, there's so much work that goes into it. Sort of the behind the scenes. It's not set design anymore. It's now background artists and people who are designing all of the items that you'll see, from guns to animals to all those kinds of things, and creating the whole look and tone of the show. So it's similar but different, and it's always a eye-opening and learning process, I think. But it's been fantastic, and like I said, if there were a way to keep doing shows like this and working with people like Viz and Netflix and Powerhouse, especially, our director Willis and Dan Dominguez, my co-writer on the project, and Brad and Adam Conroe and all the other artists there, it's like that would be amazing, because it's such a great group of people, and that you really see the dedication of everybody, and you want to just be involved in that in any way you can.
And in kind of listening to you talk too, like, I'm trying to think of the last times that I've kind of seen anything like Seis Manos or even Cannon Busters like out there, and truth is I haven't. Do you think that it's something that is indicative to Netflix as a platform that kind of facilitates this storytelling?
Absolutely. I mean, I think Netflix. I was on the Netflix anime panel at Comic-Con in San Diego a month or two ago, and with LaShawn from Cannon Busters and other creators of other animated series, and Netflix is very much pushing this idea of global in anime, global stories in this adult animated space. And yeah, I think it's like this. It's a new frontier. It's the new possibilities of all of this stuff that anime is such a global phenomenon to begin with, and that the idea that you could make it even more accessible to different people from different parts of the world, because you're telling stories that really would have other resonance with them beside the fact that it's anime, or it follows certain tropes and other things. So yeah, I think it's super exciting, and it seems like a great, apart from the creative side, which is obviously the thing that I'm interested in as a creator, as a writer, but it just seems like great business sense that you would take chances on stuff like this, because that audience is out there, the audience is hungry, the audience wants to see more and experience more, and that's one of the great things about what Netflix has done, I think, not just in anime, but just as a medium, as a platform, as a distribution hub that allows the world to come into your home, into your laptop, into your phone, or whatever. You can watch a show like Casa de las Flores on Netflix, or you can watch, an Israeli show, you can watch a French show, a British show, an American show, a Japanese anime, and it's all in one place. And have that menu to choose from. So hopefully this gives a little bit of, spice to the menu.
Awesome. Well, I mean, the last question I have really is, are you a fan of anime yourself? And have you pulled, what kinds of anime did you look to for inspiration, or just overall, what's your favorite?
Well, I'm a very old person. I'm 48. My experience with anime really began when I was in college, I would say, and in the late 80s, early 90s, in the long ago. And when you had movies like Akira and Vampire Hunter D and Robot Carnival and certain things that just like they played at the art house theater at the University of Texas, the Dobie Theater. And so that was like my first exposure to these things. I remember going to comic book stores around the same time, and you would find like videotapes of anime that, maybe were subtitled, but they were like, it was so hard to get access to some of these things back then. But there was beginning, I think, of this like broader outreach of people, stuff that was playing in the theater, like Akira. I know I saw Akira in that theater 3 times, and it was something that was like, first of all, the visuals were amazing to look at, and just like the idea that this was all, pretty much hand animated stuff was just like mind blowing. And then the story was so interesting and so great, and had so much depth to it, and it was like, wow, these are the possibilities with all of this stuff. And then after that, I have to say that like anime was not something that I really kind of kept up with in any major way. I mean, there were certain things that I watched, but a lot of the time my attentions were elsewhere. And so in the process of working on Seis Manos from the beginning all the way through, I was really digging in and exploring more kinds of things, from Cowboy Bebop to Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, things like that, different kinds of things that, even Dragon Ball Z to a degree, that would just like give me more insight into like the tone, the rhythms of certain things, the ways that visuals complemented the stories and stuff like that. So I've kind of gotten more into newer things because of Seis Manos. Like I just was watching in the last little while, I binge watched the Promised Neverland series, because that's another thing. It's like not really the same at all as Seis Manos, but incredible storytelling, incredible visuals, and just a level of artistry, both in in terms of the animation, but also in its storytelling. That's just like wow, something really amazing and really cool, and something to aspire to. Um, so yeah, that's been part of I think one of the side benefits of working on Seis Manos and starting to work on other animated projects too, that are all kind of in various stages of development, is just kind of exposing myself to more and more stuff, uh, and uh, and and just kind of soaking it all up.
That is amazing to hear on so many different levels. One, I love the Promised Neverland. Two, I am actually a WT grad, so I know the Dolby Theater very well.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah. I moved to Austin and I haven't left. So
I love Austin very much. I'll be back there for the Austin Film Festival at the end of October.
oh, awesome.
Yeah, yeah, no, Austin has been great. I really, really love it. I've been involved with Austin Film Festival now for about 10 years, and I always have a great time there. It's really the writers' festival. There's so much of this is a screenwriters conference that's part of the festival, and so yeah, we'll be doing a Seis Manos panel, I think, with Brad Graber and Willis Bulliner, and maybe some others too, to kind of go through the whole process from up map to finished project, and we'll probably show an episode or two, I think, in
Oh my
conjunction.
gosh, that is amazing.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean that's really all I had. Like you
yep,
really, honestly, I feel like I've been pulled more into my excitement for Sesmanos than I already was.
great.
Speaking with you and hearing about it, and honestly, like for me, and I can say, both to you and your team, something like this is something that I've been desperate for,
Yeah,
especially
yeah,
because I mean, and I think a lot of people of color have a similar leaning on like kung fu movies and martial arts and that kind of stuff. I do too, and for me, I've always seen like Mexican identity and like the crazy things that Mexicans believe a lot of the time really lending in
sure.
to a lot of like the more mystical like martial arts themes.
You're gonna
um
love this show.
I'm so excited. I saw that. I'm telling you, I saw that trailer and I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God, Netflix has personally attacked me and I will be buying any sort of merch associated with this show and I will be binge watching it the first day.
Oh my God. I mean, that's, that's great to hear. And like I said, the thing that keeps me most excited about this whole thing is just, seeing how, you know, people that I grew up with, or people that I know, the community, the Mexican American community, the Latinx community, and how they respond to the show. And whether it's positive or negative or some mix in between, it's like, I hope that it's at least, um, an indication that, that the door is open. The door is open for these kind of stories. If you don't like this one, make one of your own, because it's only going to hopefully stay open for longer, and the opportunities to tell more stories and better stories and personal stories and things that things that this is just a step, and
Yeah.
hopefully it's a good step. But hopefully, I think that I'm excited by not just Seis Manos, but all the other Manos that are going to come afterwards.
uh, yeah, that's amazing to hear because I very much when I saw this and when I saw Cannon Busters, that's what I thought. It felt like a door was kind of kicked in and like, hey, we're here and
Absolutely.
we're gonna keep making these stories. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for doing this, and um, I hope you like the show, and look me up when I'm there that weekend at the festival.
Yeah, most definitely. Seriously, thank you. Thank
Okay.
you for, talking with me and everything. This has been great. This has been amazing. I mean, I just want it to be October already,
I know.
but
It's coming. It's going to be here sooner than you think. Yeah. The show, I think it comes out on Friday the 3rd, and
Mhm.
then doing a panel at New York Comic Con on the 4th. And so, hope maybe some people will have seen it by then. Um, but just really excited about it
Awesome.
finally coming out. I'll be monitoring all the responses and all the coverage, good and bad. So,
I'm sure you'll see a whole bunch of real loud tweets from me when I watch it.
great.
Awesome. But thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll talk to you later.